Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at D, E, and F. Now when we're looking at letter D, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look and we're going to see a monomial. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep that, x cubed. Now for the second one, what we see is that we have a binomial. We see that they have an x in common, so we're going to factor out the x and we're going to put an x minus 5. Now looking at the second one, we're going to put a 1 underneath it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to factor it. We're looking for two numbers that multiply together, give us negative 36, add up to negative 5. And that right there would be negative 9 and 4. So what we have is we have x minus 9 and x plus 4. Now, when we're looking at this, what we notice is that there's only one thing that could cancel, and that would be the x's. So what we have is we have x squared, we have an x minus 9, we have an x plus 4, and that's all divided by x minus. Now that right there is our first answer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look for our excluded values. Remember, the excluded values is what gives us 0 in the denominator. So we're only looking at the denominator of the original. Here, it would be 0, so x cannot equal 0. Here, it would be 5, so x cannot equal 5. And that right there is our second answer. Now, moving on to letter E. We're starting off, and we see that with this right here, they have an x in common, so we factor out an x, and we have an x plus 7. In the denominator is a monomial, so we keep it. In the next one, the numerator is a monomial, so we keep it. The denominator is a binomial, and we notice that it's a special factoring pattern. So if we take the square root of each, we get x minus 7, x plus 7. Now for the fun part, what we're going to do is we're going to cancel. We see that the x plus 7s can cancel. We see that the 2 and the 4 can cancel. And we see that the x squared and x to the 6th can cancel. So now when we multiply across, what we have is 2x, here's 1x, here's 4, so that would be x to the 5th, over x minus 7. Now, that right there is our first answer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look for our excluded values. Our excluded values, once again, it's what makes the denominator equal to 0. Right here, always with monomials, it's 0. Here, what makes it 0 is a 7. Remember, it's the opposite. And here, it would be a negative 7. So that right there would be our two answers. Now, looking at our last problem, letter F. This one right here, we see that they both have a 5 in common, and that gives us x squared minus 4. Now, x squared minus 4 is a special factoring pattern. So when we factor it, what we get is 5, x minus 2, x plus 2. This one right here is a little difficult because we have those two numbers. It's a trinomial, so we multiply those two. We get 4 on top. And what we get is 5 on the bottom. Two numbers that multiply together give us 4, add up to 5. Would be 4 and 1. Since there's a 2 right there, we're going to divide each of them by 2. And what we get is x plus 2 to x plus 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our second one. With that one right there, we're looking for two numbers that multiply together and give us 30, add up to 13. And that right there would be x plus 10, x plus 3. In the denominator, we're looking for two numbers that multiply together and give us negative 20. Add up to 8. That right there would be 10 and negative 2. Now for the fun part. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be canceling. X plus 10's cancel. X minus 2's cancel. X plus 2's cancel. And that looks like everything. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our answer. And what we have is a 5 and an x plus 3. And on the bottom, we have a 2x plus 1. Once again, that's our first answer. We're looking for our second answer, which is our excluded values. Excluded values is what gives us 0 for the denominator. And what gives us 0 for the first one? Negative 2. For the second one, this one's a little tricky. It's always the opposite. So it's negative 1/2. This one right here, kind of hard to see, but that would be negative 10. And for the last one, it would be 2.